Hey guys, my name is Tito. I make videos on personal finance on my other channel. On this channel, I talk about other things, like today when I'll be reviewing the new Netflix series from Nollywood called Shanty Town. Now, Shanty Town is about a young woman who is trying to avenge the death of her twin sister. Sound familiar? Anyway, in this one, Inong is a police officer. Her twin sister's name is Inem, and Inem was a sex worker in Shanty Town. But when Inem loses her life, Idong, I should say, Idong impersonates her late sister, goes to Shanty Town to try and find dirt on the guy that she believes was responsible for her sister's death and her sister's crappy quality of life. His name is Scar, right? In the process of doing all this, she realizes that there's an even bigger player in the whole thing. Scar is a front man for someone called Chief Fernandez, who is ruining even more lives than Scar is. So why I wanted to see this project, Shanty Town, is because of its director, Dimeji Ajibola. I saw a film of his in 2020 called Ratnik, and that was a very ambitious film. It was a sci-fi thriller set in the future, set in Nigeria. It wasn't the greatest of films, but it was quite ambitious, and I appreciated the fact that he tried to be radical with that project. Okay, so I've been looking forward to his next project. He actually did direct Passport last year, but I'm not counting that. I didn't like Passport. So Shanty Town, it has a star-studded cast, as you'd imagine, and as is the case with many of these Netflix series, right? In it, you have Chidi Mokeme, you have Nse Ikpe Etim, Sola Sobowale, Isime, Ali Nuhu. Is it Paul or Peter Okoye? I always keep on mixing the two. And who else do you have in this film? You have Toyin Abraham and Regina Daniels. Later on, in fact, in the last scene of the last episode, they're in the series as well. Who else? I'm missing a bunch of people, but in the course of this review, I will mention their names. Star-studded cast. I only really want to talk about... Well, first of all, let me appreciate Ini Edo and Chidi Mokeme. They were very prominent in this series, particularly Chidi Mokeme. I like the fact that they cast him and not a more known face like, you know, they tend to do. You know, they could have cast Zubby Michael in this role. I'm glad they didn't, even though Zubby Michael was actually in the film, in the series. They could have cast Deyemi or Kolawo. That may have been a stretch, but I'm just glad that they used Chidi Mokeme. He felt a bit fresh. He's not a fresh face, but he felt like something or someone we haven't seen a lot in the past few months. So he was good. Ini Edo too was really good. It was physical acting from two of them. They had some fight scenes in there. They were believable to an extent, to a large extent, to be honest. They did a good job, so I have to appreciate them. But the four performances I really want to acknowledge from this series were that of Isime, Sola Sobowale, RMD, and Nse Ikpe Etim. Isime, because this wasn't... Isime tends to play empowered women in the films and the projects I see her in, but in this one, Shaliwa wasn't necessarily an empowered girl. She was just, you know, a sex worker who just didn't have a lot going on for her and wasn't entirely bright, but she was just there. So it was different, you know, seeing Nancy play this kind of character. I don't think I've ever seen Nancy play such an airheaded character. It was different, and I appreciated it based on that. Also, for those of you who are probably thinking that those were Nancy's bits that we saw in that scene with RMD, I doubt if those are Nancy's delicate bits. Nancy's, I don't know her personally, but I think Nancy is a bit more cautious and intentional about how much she exposes herself in projects. So I think that was a body double. Those are some perky ones, though, I must admit. Anyway, moving on. Nse Ikpe Etim, focus, Tito, focus. Nse Ikpe Etim, her performance in this was good as well. The last performance of hers that I particularly enjoyed was in King of Boys, The Return of the King. I liked her performance in this one as well. It wasn't as good as her performance in King of Boys, but I like that she was a powerful character. She went toe-to-toe a couple of times with Scar, Chidi Mokeme's character. And, you know, her motives, we saw her role in the entire thing, and at times, you know, we questioned her motives or whose side she was actually on. So I liked the dynamism of that character, actually. Sola Sobowale, I liked this performance from her solely because I think this is the first time I'm seeing Sola Sobowale in a film where she wasn't shouting. Yeah, because I can't recall her shouting in this series, actually. And it was a different kind of character that she played. You know, playing Mama T, who seemed to have, you know, poor health and was this ritualist type of person in their organization, it was something different from, Sola Sobowale. And I appreciate that because honestly, most of Sola Sobowale's performances or characters, they tend to be quite similar. Finally, RMD. At the beginning, I was like, RMD again? Seriously? He's always in these things. But by like episode 4, I was like, whoa. This was the most despicable character that I've ever seen RMD play before. I hated Chief Fernandez. Especially from that scene where he just violates Idong, when they're in the room and he gets the whips and the chains and the mouthpiece and he just goes to town. I was like, I did not see that coming. I was shocked. My jaw was on the floor. I was like, what the heck is going on? So that scene was actually quite powerful. I didn't see it coming, and it really did make me despise Chief Fernandez. And kudos to RMD because I've never despised the character of his as much as I did when I saw this Chief Fernandez in this series. Yeah, it was out there. It was out there. Now, what I liked the visuals in this series. The lighting was actually really good. The images were actually really clean. They tried, one or two things. There are explosions, there are stunts with cars, there are fight scenes and whatnot. The fight scenes were a bit excessive. I'll get to that when I talk about what I didn't like about this series. But the visuals are actually quite good. What I also liked, and the first thing that I liked about this series was when Ini Edo's character Idong and Nse's character Ene, when they were speaking their local dialect. I believe, was that Ibibio or Efik? I don't know what language that was. Please, if you know, let me know in the comment section down below. But it felt so natural. I loved hearing it. It was refreshing to hear something other than Yoruba, Igbo, or Hausa in one of these things. The final thing I loved about this was Shanty Town, was how they left the reveal of the twin being alive, how they left that till the final episode 6. Because at the beginning of the whole thing, episode 1, we see that twin get popped, we think she's gone, but at the end of the whole series, episode 6, we find out that she actually lived. So I like how they left that till the end. If they had told us earlier in the series, it may have spoiled things. The payoff wouldn't have been as powerful, I believe. So those are the things I liked. What I didn't like, Shaffy Bello's character, who Dame Dabota, I believe, the governor of Lagos State. I was confused as to why Scar was so scared of her and why he revered her so much when they first met in that scene, I think in episode 2. I was wondering, what's the big deal about this character? Apparently, she was the governor of Lagos State. But I feel like that character wasn't established enough, first of all. Secondly, a whole governor should not have been at those crime scenes. When Scar was kidnapped and interrogated, she shouldn't have been there. Maybe it should have been a phone call or a video call. The governor herself should not have been there. And if she was the sitting governor of Lagos State, there should have been more security detail in that place. She should have even had deputies to have carried out the operation of grabbing Scar, interrogating him, and giving him the assignment of going to go and betray Chief Fernandez. The governor should not have been there to implicate herself. And also, why did she feel like Chief Fernandez was such a threat to her re-election? Why was she so intimidated by Chief Fernandez? They didn't establish that he had that much of a chance in terms of winning the elections. The whole character, Dame Dabota, the governor of Lagos State, it didn't gel, especially in relation to her beef with Chief Fernandez. Another thing I didn't like about this series, and trust me, there are several things I didn't like about this series, was the convenient occurrences. For instance, the charm that was given to Nancy's character to put on Femi Fernandez, the touch and follow charm. Scar gives it to Nancy back in Shanty Town. So why, in the next episode, is Scar with the charm? And why is he the one that puts it on Femi Fernandez? Because he actually gave that charm to Nancy to do the job. Why is Scar suddenly with it? Also, when Femi Fernandez leaves that bar and lounge with Scar to go and get the ring, right? Why does he come back to meet Nancy's character, Shaliwa? I mean, he was under a spell. He was bewitched. Why? He had no business coming back, of all reasons, to come and see Shaliwa. So how did that happen? That felt incredibly convenient. So there are a few of those in this series. A number of convenient occurrences that just didn't make sense to me. Even Mercy Ake's character, Jackie. Why didn't she take an Uber? Why did she leave at night? Why did she... Let me not even go down this road. And then another thing that I didn't like, this one I have to mention, the unnecessary fight scene, fight scenes, because there are these extras, these stuntmen, essentially. Let's go with stuntmen who have this fight scene that we don't care for in this thing, and they show it to us, and it's like we just have to watch it because they hired stuntmen and because they want to show us some martial arts in this thing. It felt really out of place. It felt quite unnecessary, and it felt like one of many unnecessary scenes in Shantytown, if you ask me. So in conclusion, Shantytown was okay. It was above average. I didn't enjoy it the way I enjoyed something like Blood Sisters. With Blood Sisters, each episode felt like its own mini movie. It felt like it had its own utility and value, right? I enjoyed each episode of Blood Sisters without watching the entire thing. But with Shantytown, each episode didn't have its own identity. The episodes weren't even titled. And it felt like just a long movie that I had to watch each episode to get to, the meat of the matter. And I felt like that was it was a missed opportunity. Each episode should have had its own. Then again, maybe this whole thing was filmed to be a movie, but then, last minute they decided to chop it up and make it a series. And then, speaking of chopping things up, the scene at the end with Tony Abraham's character and Regina Daniels' character around the fire and all that, I guess they didn't want money to waste, but also obviously they put that scene in there so that there will be another season, so that, they'll have something to, like a cliffhanger, to lead up to the next season. Felt unnecessary to me, but hey, what do I know? But let me know what you guys thought about Shantytown in the comment section down below. Let me know whose performance you enjoyed the most, because there are a few good performances in this series. Let me know which performance you enjoyed, or whose performance you enjoyed the most, or which character you liked the most in Shantytown. If you enjoyed this review, guys, please like it by clicking on the like button just underneath the video. I'd really appreciate it. And subscribe to this channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. On this channel, I don't just do Nollywood movie reviews. I also talk about relationships. So to check out some of my past relationship videos or my past Nollywood reviews, I do have some good ones, I must say. You can click the card in the corner of the screen, or you can even check the description box down below for a link to my personal finance channel. Thanks for watching once again, guys. I will catch you real soon, because it's actually a very busy month from Nollywood, in my next video. Take care.